Welcome to On the Bubble Podcast, episode 76. I'm your host, Buster J. Wade, and with me is my co-host, Yuki Lee Bender. Today, we're going to be doing a How to Draft Zen episode, but before that, we're also going to be talking about Nationals Week 1 for the Mist Vale CC meta. But before we do any of that, how was your week, Yuki? Did you play the Battle Hardened this weekend?
I did. I went down to Seattle, Tacoma for a day trip. I unfortunately wasn't really able to sleep the night before. I just had trouble sleeping. I slept about an hour. And then, I fell asleep around 5. I woke up around, no, I fell asleep around 4:30. I woke up around 5:30. We left the house at 6, drove 3 hours, played the Battle Hardened. Kind of expected to do terribly. I had a good start. I went 5-0. I lost 2 very close games, and then I won my last round, and I came in 10th or something playing Zen. Overall, pretty happy with how I played. I was definitely feeling the lack of sleep by the end of the 7th round and into the 8th round, but not sure that I don't think I really made any misplays that cost me the game. I think it was just, sometimes you just lose.
I also went down to the Battle Hardened Tacoma, and I actually was able to top 8 that event. I had the same record as Yuki. I was X and 2. It was 7 rounds, 8 rounds,
8 rounds.
8 rounds. I went 6 and 2, 4-1 win, then lose the last round. And I was on new, and I played my new deck that I was like tweaking here and there, and I have this. I think it's kind of unconventional new. It's not heavily into the disruption. It's not heavily into like any of the strategies. I'm basically playing all the cards I liked when I was playtesting new. And then I think the big card that's like different between all the other people's news list and my news list would be Gravekeeping and trying to take advantage of news hero ability as much as I can. I unfortunately lost the finals to Package. Sorry, not the finals. Sorry, I lost top 4. He was also on news, so we ended up having like a 90-minute mirror match where I think I made a couple of mistakes. He also said he made a couple of mistakes, and it came down to the last card in decks. He had 4 cheese. Yeah, he had 4 cheese and like a blue hiss left. And my deck was 5 cheese, a command and conquer, and I don't know what the last card was. I don't remember anymore, but there was just 2 3 blocks, and he attacked me 3 times in the last turn. My hand is 2 3 blocks and 2 cheese, and I ended up losing that game by 1 life. And honestly, if I feel like if I won that one, then I have a reasonable matchup against the Zen in the finals as well. And yeah, it was a real close one. I'm kind of disappointed I lost that one, mostly because top 2 gets the PTI.
Yeah, making finals is a big difference to not making finals in Battle Hardened. But yeah, you had an awesome run. Congrats on that. Is there any information about your deck list available, Jay?
Posted it on inside the Discord. It's not like if you have the $2 Patreon tier, if you go under the news section of the discussion, I can also pin it actually on the Discord. It's just posted there, so you don't actually even need the titanium bauble tier. I've just shared it with everyone. I just updated a little bit of the matchups. There's no actual write up with it, but if you just want to like look at the list and play it, I think you can do so. I think as a disclaimer though, I don't think new is that strong, and it's not like I would recommend playing this deck if you want to do well in like, constructed events. I probably wouldn't bring new. This is like I think the best way that I can describe new right now is like it's an uphill battle against literally everyone in the field, other than maybe Victor. And even Victor could like still beat you, if they like pummel you in the wrong spots and stuff like that. So yeah, I would not recommend new, but if you really wanted to like test your strength and like outmaneuver your opponents, I think new might be the best deck. Like the most entertaining and the most fun deck you can play for sure.
New's really fun. I keep wanting to play new, and I kind of agree that I think that she's like just like not quite there. I don't think she's a terrible choice. I think there's like there are decks that you can bring that are worse than new right now by a lot. But do I think that she is the best choice to win a tournament? No, probably not. She's super fun though. You do get a lot of skill testing matchups, and it's cool to see her do well.
Yeah, no, this Battle Hardened was like both myself and Package was just like wrecking the field with new, and it was kind of novel. We both made top eight, and we're just like this. Both of our decks is drastically different, and then we're both just like, new's not that good.
Yeah, I also had this discussion with him at the event. Just like, I want to play new, but she kind of sucks. And he's like, yeah, she kind of sucks. And then he just won the event. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, no, well, props on him. He piloted the deck really well as well, and it's his version of the deck is a lot more destruction heavy, and he's just like, give me all the Zens, and then I'm just like, please, I don't want to play any more Zens anymore. So there's like a big difference between his list and my list, and like what our favorable matchups are.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, if you want to check that out, you can do so on the Patreon. I also have my Zen list, as well as I think like a full sideboard guide with matchup notes, article on how to play Zen, all on the Patreon for Titanium Bobble and up patrons. So if you're wanting to check out, the new deck or the Zen deck, you can head over to patreon.com/onthebobble and check us out there. And thank you so much to everybody who gives back to the show, but also thank you to all of our listeners who tune in. I don't know if it was just because we were in Seattle, Tacoma, which is like semi-local to us. We go down for PQs and stuff sometimes, but at that event and maybe even at some like US Nats and stuff, I feel like I've been having like so many people just mention that they listen to the podcast, that they like it. It feels like a lot of the kind of like tournament grinders are listening apparently, which is cool. And it's always nice to hear from people. So that's kind of like one of the big highlights for me at events, is just like talking to people who are like, yeah, I watch or I listened to the podcast, I watched your interview, I saw your gameplay, like whatever it is, and just chatting with them. It's really nice. So thank you to everybody who came up to us. And I don't know, did you have that experience?
Yeah, no, I've been having a lot of that, like ever since like going down to the callings for heavy hitters and stuff like that. I had more and more people just like talk to me and mention the podcast to me, and it's a good feeling, honestly. And don't be shy, even if you're not playing against us. Even if you're just walking around, if you see us, just say hi. A lot harder to recognize who I am. I actually lost all my hair in the last week, but you can find me shaving up all my hair on YouTube if you really looked hard for it. But yeah, it's I go through drastic changes in my appearance. So this time I'm basically bald right now.
Yeah. I think my funniest interaction is Oliver telling me that he gets asked if he's Jay sometimes.
That's so funny. I have also had one time when I was like asked if I was Oliver. So
That's so funny.
has only happened once, but it did happen once, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, thank you to everyone, and definitely been like feels like there's been like a real uptick in just like people supporting the channel in general, and seeing stuff at events just within the last year, or like within like this calendar year, so last half year. So very, very cool and very exciting. All right, anything else about Battle Hardened Seattle Tacoma?
I think just shouting out the Vancouver crew before we move on. We were able to secure 3 of the top 8 spots, and you came in 10th, bubbling out as well. Wait, who else top 16 though? I thought there was one other local who's top 16 as well.
Maybe.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I
Okay.
don't know.
Well, let's just move on. Let's talk about nationals.
Yeah. So Nationals week 1, 2, depends how you want to count US Nats. US Nats has its own weeks. I guess it's like kind of the second week of nationals, but like it's the first week of like more than just one national event. Anyways, whatever week it is, we have a couple stats. We're not going to spend too much time going over it, but I kind of want to just give people a rundown of what's been going on at nationals and kind of talk a little bit about Zen, because I think there's been some discourse on Twitter about him. I've posted a bit about him, other people have as well, and he's been kind of the talk of the town. So with all that in mind, what do we have? Well, this week we had 14 nationals. By the time you're listening to this, I think we'll have like the second week of nationals, so there'll be even more than that. So kind of looking to see what will happen next week, or at least like the nationals will be coming up soon. So if you count the US nationals as 15 total events, this week Zen won 4 events. And then there's one from US Nationals. So he's won 5 of 15 Nationals, 33%. Pretty impressive. There's next is KO, Dash IO, and Enigma, all winning 2 events. And then new Dorenthia, kind of surprised to see Dorenthia in there, Kano, and Azalea all picking up 1 win. And that's rounding out the 15. So kind of a diverse-ish crew of heroes winning. Certainly the LSS write-up I noticed mentioned 4 of 14 events won by Zen, and that's only like 2 more than KO, Dash, and Enigma. I'm not sure that's like my interpretation of the data, but yeah, curious to see what will happen in the coming weeks and if Zen will get answered or if not. What do you think? Do you think we'll continue to see? Do you think Zen's gonna get like even out and be kind of like maybe ahead but not by that much, or do you think he's gonna pull ahead more?
No, he's definitely gonna pull ahead more. Out of all of the aggro decks in the format, I feel like Zen is not straightforward. You do need to playtest him. I actually was able to play a little bit of Zen just yesterday, just to test him out and see how he plays. And not all of his lines are straightforward, and I feel like more and more players will get better at playing Zen. The more we get better Zens on the field, I feel like more he's gonna win. Something interesting about these like stats is like someone like Kano. Kano was one in a 10-player nationals, right? I'm not even sure if there was a Zen in that top 4. And I don't really know how each of those communities are, put together essentially in these open events, and if even if they have access to like part of the misspell cards yet. So because technically it is still kind of early in the in the set, right? Like since part of
Mm-hmm.
misspell came out, and I know some locals who are having troubles putting together Zen because their package got delayed and they couldn't play Zen. So like there's still people out there who's not able to put together a Zen deck because maybe they can't afford levels of enlightenment. I don't know. I feel like as more time passes and more people pick up Zen and the Zen players get better, I feel like Zen's gonna start to take more wins than we see now, actually.
Kind of agree with that. I do think he's hard to play. I think that some people have been playing suboptimal lists. I think lists are getting more and more refined, and I think we're going to see them kind of like crystallize and converge a little bit. Some interesting lists coming out of UK Nationals featuring stuff like This Round's on Me for the Mirror, some finishers with Command and Conquer and Weakest Links, and Bittering Thorns to kind of curve with those and push them up to 7 if you let the Bittering Thorns hit. So some different takes on Zen. They were also running Talishar in those builds, so there's definitely some exploration to be done with this hero. I think the core is mostly similar across all the decks. They're all playing like Bonds and Ancestral Harmony and Art of War. Like there's like 45-ish cards, maybe even like 50-ish cards that are like the same across all of them. But then there's like a little bit of wiggle room. And I think people are still figuring those out. And I think as people do, we'll see Zen do better and better. And I think even with the data we have, if you dig a little bit deeper than the 4 out of 14 or 5 out of 15, you can see that the data kind of suggests that he is really, really good. So one stat, I just point out a couple stats. The first one is that Zen makes up about 20% of the top 8. I think it's like 19 of 97 top 8 slots. Why 97? Because we don't actually know the full top 8 for all the events. There's like a few where the top 8 hasn't been confirmed. So it's like a little bit incomplete. But of the 97 top 8 slots that we have, he was about 20% of them or 19 of them. But he won 33% of the events. So going from like a 20% top 8 presence to like a 33% win rate, it kind of suggests the deck's like super powerful. Additionally, if you look at where his wins happen, he's won 4 out of the 6 events that have 96 or more players, meaning the vast majority of the other heroes have been winning events at 64 and less. And I'm not trying to discount anybody's accomplishments at all. Like absolutely congratulations to everyone who won their nationals. That's a huge accomplishment and super exciting. But I think in terms of just like data and seeing what deck is the best, the bigger the sample size you have, the more reliable the data is. And when you get down to like a 32 player event, and there's like if there's like 2-3 Zens out of that event, which some of these there are, Zen not winning that event is not necessarily like reflective of Zen not being a strong hero. You know, it's just like kind of a small sample size, not that many rounds, not that many Zens in there, and like it's not really the full picture. So I'm very curious to see what will happen as we have some of the other regions that have more players play their nationals and see how those will go. I think those will be more indicative of the overall power level of Zen in the format.
Something that I'm actually not 100% sure about right now is, are all the national events across the world all mixed events, or are some of them CC only?
That's a really good question. I think I can look this up. I don't actually know. I know that the rounds and the structure varies a little bit depending on the cap.
Okay, so I'm just looking at one random nationals. So I'm looking at the Austria 2024 National Championship. That was a 6 round event, capping at 32 players. It is 3 rounds of classic construction. 3 rounds of classic constructed, followed by 3 rounds of draft into a top 8 classic constructed single elimination event. So it looks like even some of these like smaller 32 player events are mixed formats. So 3 rounds of draft, 3 rounds of CC.
Yeah, and that kind of further muddies the water on the heroes, right? Because like there's decks that are like it's possible to have a 3-0 draft and a maybe even like maybe you count 1-2, but you could probably like 2-1 CC, 2-1 draft and top 8 with another hero in like some of these like 6 round events, right? So yeah, just not the most representative of the CC metagame at large. And yeah, very good point.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We really haven't had a lot of high tier events with Zen running around. We don't really have like a full picture of how strong Zen is yet. What do you think? Do you think Zen needs bans, or do you think Zen's okay for now, and then we have to wait until people can like figure out how to beat him with the current meta?
I do kind of. So I'll say that I want to see how at least the next week or two goes of nationals, and I don't think any decisions need to be made until then or will be made until then. Our BNR is after nationals wrap up and before Amsterdam. So you know maybe something gets figured out, but my gut feeling right now is that Zen is just a little bit too much. The games are a little too fast, and we actually had like a playtesting day just yesterday with a bunch of the locals who are going to Nats. Man, I think the theme of that day was that most games were like 10 minutes long, people playing like 3-4 turn games, even like Enigma like trying to play like a bunch of attacks and getting like super aggressive and just like race and hit you super hard and like nobody doing much blocking. I think the metagame is like very 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 warped by him and a little just like a little too fast for my taste. I think that he does 30 plus damage a little bit too consistently. And even if your deck has disruption, like you need to be able to kill him because if you just give him too much time, like he'll find the pop off turn and just kind of like bury you anyways. So I think Zen's like a little too much. I think that he needs maybe some small kind of ban to like lower either his ceiling a little bit or maybe his consistency a little bit. And I think that would make the format feel a lot better. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. There maybe maybe the perfect new list has not yet been discovered, and that will even things out. But I think my biggest observation right now is like I think the decks that are most likely to have a good matchup into Zen are New and Victor, but I don't think their matchups are like that good. It's like a little favored, but Zen can absolutely still win. And both of those decks like have trouble into other decks in the format. I'm kind of looking at you, Enigma and Kano, in particular. But yeah, it feels like most decks like you tech for Zen and you get like a coin flip at best. And there's a couple decks that can kind of be like slightly favored, but you kind of get hated out by the rest of the format. And it just like ends up creating this like super one note format where everything is super aggressive. And this might be my least favorite CC metagame so far, actually. I feel like in the past, like there was usually something else you could do. Maybe chain meta was comparable to this, but like even like Starvo meta, like you could play Starvo, you could play Prism, you could play Chain, you could play like a defensive Starvo. Like there was like it felt like you had like more varieties of play styles. Whereas like right now it feels like hyper aggro.
I don't know if I can agree with you on the Starvo portion because Starvo was Starvo was a little bit too good. It felt like nothing really beat Starvo. Like you kind of had to play Starvo if you really wanted to like win, or like just playing Starvo was like so much better than everything else. And the Starvo versus Starvo games were kind of non games, and to the point where, you know, one of the best Starvo decks was called Casino. Sorry, was it Casino Starvo? No, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, it was called Casino Starvo, where you just played every like element card possible, and then you were trying to RNG one of each of the elements, and if you did this more times than your opponent, you won the game, which
Yeah.
was kind of dumb. So
I think the Starvo meta was the Starvo meta was also pretty dumb. I think Starvo was like definitely a more broken deck. I just kinda I think I kinda like the I don't know. I like that there was like kind of other picks that were like kind of okay. Like Chain won the PT and was like still very solid, and like Prism was like pretty reasonable. Like it just felt like there's like a variety of decks, and like I don't want to say there's not a variety of decks here, but I feel like they're all not wanting to interact and end the game in like a couple turns. And I think that's like the biggest thing is it just like it kind of feels like different flavors of the same thing from all the different heroes. Not that there isn't like actual diversity, but just that like it doesn't feel like you can really play. I guess like New can kind of play control, but that's like about it. Like even like Victor is like teching to be like super aggressive these days and just like hit you super hard. It's like kind of weird. Like the format just feels like all you do is smash people, and I don't know. That's I think Flesh and Blood's more interesting when you block at least a little more.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Like as we said, like Starvo being a guardian, I think the games are slightly slower and a little bit more interactive in that
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
So I think that made the games feel a little bit more like a game.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Zen games don't feel like a game a lot of the times.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm more responding to that than like power level. Like I don't think Zen is like I think Zen's very good. I think he's a little bit busted, but I don't think he's like the most busted deck we've ever seen. I just it's kind of like when we had Stubby's Fi. They banned Stubby's Fi super fast, but I think that there's like a damage cap in this game. When you start doing too much damage, the game just gets too fast, and it's sort of like I actually tweeted about this, but like if you consider like 25 versus like 35 damage, that 10 extra damage is so much because like if you block 12 on 25, you're leaking like 13 damage. But if you block 12 on 35, you're leaking 23 damage. You're like leaking like twice as much damage. So like in some senses, in terms of like your ability to prolong the game, it's like almost like double the damage of like what goes over your blocks. So yeah, I kind of think that like as the number it's like not like a linear scale, right? Like the difference between like 12 and 15, like as you go up, it like keeps getting like more and more so, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just the amount of reach you have to kill your opponent gets so much. It's like it requires so much less to kill your opponent after you do a 35 damage turn.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't help that like Zen's like setup turn often does 15 damage. So like if you don't block the setup turn and you're at 25, you're like just already unlethal.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I think one question would be if you were to ban one card right now, what would it be? Just name a card. Like what would you want gone from Zen? I know you said like you wanted to see a couple of weeks, but like right now you have to ban something.
I have two answers. The ban I think we will likely see is Strides of Reprisal. I think getting an extra card in hand for Art of War is just like kind of broken, and like it's just like such an easy ban. It's a common. It doesn't really like hurt anybody financially. It's like a super straightforward ban. I think that's like kind of what I'm expecting to see. How much will that power down the deck? I'm not sure. The band that I personally think would be very cool, but I kind of don't expect to see, would be Blue 100 Winds, Blue Descendant Gustwave, and Blue Bonds. I like that it doesn't hit Katsu at all, but I think it meaningfully slows him down because you can't use like I think the fact that you get to like do your bonds piece as a starter for your transcend cards and then like enable your double bonds faster and have more hits off of Ancestral Harmony is just like really broken. Like you pitch reds to play Blue Descendant Gustwave in this deck and feel good about it. It's like that crazy. So I think that cutting these blue combo cards would like hurt the consistency and the speed of the deck, like its ability to get double bonds online quite a bit. And I haven't tested obviously, but like I feel like that would be a nice spend.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair. I thought you were gonna say some random power card like Art of War or something like that, but
Nah.
no, you just named some reasonable comments to ban. That's yeah. You know what? I could see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll do it because like they usually haven't banned only like one pitch of a card. So that's why I'm a little skeptical of this ban. But I think it would be a nice ban. And I think it would do more to the deck than it might sound like it does at the start.
That's fair. That's fair. I think personally, all I want is if Zen just had stopped the ability to sideboard out their levels of enlightenment, then I would be happy as a new player because like then Zen can go wreak havoc still against all the other decks, and then if Zen has levels in their deck, then I can wreck the Zen players with my new deck. Honestly, like the the strongest the most annoying thing Zen can do against new is to just take out their good blues, and it doesn't even hurt the deck. Like they don't care if they don't have levels and Orion on their deck. But then if they had to play Orions and levels against New, then like New can pop off harder than Zen can. Oh, I wish that was the case.
That would be very fun as new, but yeah, I don't know how helpful that is for balancing the game.
Yeah, no, not helpful at all. It's just my personal, I want to have more fun with New take. No, you know what? I just wish that nobody can sideboard and just like Kano and like New wreck havoc. Oh man, everyone takes out their like interesting, fun blues that I get to play. It's not. It gets less fun.
It's true. I can agree with that. All right. You want to move into our how to draft Zen guide?
Yeah, let's do it. I don't think there's too much to talk about on how to draft Zen. I feel like Zen is the most straightforward hero in the set. I think all of our other like how to draft episode in like the ninja category all apply, and we're gonna be talking about like good math here today.
I agree with all that. Zen pretty straightforward. It's part of why we left it for last because we figured the other ones would help people more. But we can do a quick mini guide on Zen as well. So key cards for Zen. Honestly, just like red attacks are good. It's kind of that simple. Like I think all of the red attacks are like pretty playable in Zen. Some of them are better than others, but they're all pretty good. You want some with Go Again. You want some Enders. The best of the best is probably Untamed. This is the 1 for 4 Go Again that gives your next Tiger +1 when you attack with it. This is kind of like Mounting Anger, and Mounting Anger was a rare, and this doesn't need a hit.
Wait, is Untamed a common?
Yeah,
I just assumed this card was a rare. I do not see this card in our drafts ever. And when it gets passed, you pick it. But okay, yeah, I did not know this card was a common. Yeah, this card is insane.
yeah. The red one in particular is insane. Honestly, all of them are like pretty playable, but the red one in particular, really, really, really good. After that, you want some combo cards. Typically, you don't have to have combo cards. If you have no combo cards, you can also draft no transcend cards and just play like red attacks. I think it's fine. Usually, it's hard to get enough red attacks, I find, but like theoretically, it's possible if Zen's open enough. But usually, you'll end up with a few combo cards. The red ones are all pretty good. So red Pouncing Chi and red Breed Anger are both pretty good. And then I think any color of Chi Unleashed is pretty playable, honestly. Like the yellow being a 2 for 6 is fine. The red being a 2 for 7 is great. And the blue being a blue block 3 that can be a 2 for 5 is like also good. So yeah, I think Chi Unleashed is very good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Key Unleashed has this like really strong part about it where the red one is just above rate. The yellow and the blue one means that if you draw it, you get to pitch it and it goes back into your deck so you can search it again. So it's like it's almost never dead. The one problem I have with the red one is that it is overrate, but it's so hard to pitch that you can't actually put it back in your deck if you draw it early. So like all the colors are great. Like it's like I'm not even sad if I get a yellow one instead of a red one. I'm kind of like I'm more in the boat of like, yes, I got the yellow one instead of the red one because now my deck is more consistent. Depends on how many transcend cards I have, but like
Mhm.
if I have a good decent chunk of transcend cards, like the yellow and the blue, oh, amazing.
How many of these combo cards do you think you want in your Zen deck?
I feel like it's kind of fluid. Zen, I've seen really strong Zen decks with like 5, 6 combo cards and like a bunch of transcend, and they're trying to be like a constructed Zen deck where they're trying to transcend every turn and activate Zen's hero ability every turn and like combo off that way. I've also seen the other side where, you just like play one combo card and you try and like loop that same combo card over and over again with like minimal cheese. So honestly, there's like lots of different ways to play Zen. And as you said, though, like the most important is that you have the red versions of these cards and you be able to do the classic, you know, go wide with ninja cards and do damage with them. You look at the bottom left hand corner of your card, and if it has a high number, it's pretty good in Zen.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. So, oh yeah, I think that you usually want like two combo cards though, because if your combo card gets banished, you're sad. So usually you kind of want two if you're planning on transcending. So at least two.
Yeah, two is definitely ideal. Like
Yeah.
two or more is ideal. It's just that sometimes you're going to like this like 4 Zen pod, and you're like, okay, I gotta protect this red pouncing key for the rest of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you do have the combo cards, you need the transcend cards to pair with them, and ideally some of the tiger makers to pair with them as well, so that if you draw them without transcending, you can still have a turn. So speaking of tiger makers, those are also important. Most of them are pretty good. My favorites are the one cost ones, Tiger Form Incantation and Harmony of the Hunt. They just require you to pitch a blue and then you get a tiger in your hand. Incantation's a 3 block and a non-attack action. Harmony of the Hunt, and it gives your next tiger +3. Harmony of the Hunt is 3 for 1 that gives you a tiger in hand. They're both pretty good. They let you kind of like they curve out nicely with your staff, and you get the +1 on your staff, and then you can like play a combo card afterwards, and they're pretty nice. Aspect of Tiger Body is crazy. It's a combo card that also makes a tiger and combos with red cards. It's a rare, but yeah, Aspect Tiger Body, super premium.
Yeah. The 2 cost variant of this ability is not that great because it doesn't pair that well with the staff. And I think the 1 cost is very important, as Yuki's saying. Just because like the a 1 for 3 go again is kind of underrate at red, but it becomes above rate or like on rate once you pair it with the staff. And you also get this like added upside of like these attacks now come in for these like really awkward numbers. 3 is kind of easy to block at start, but then the staff coming in for 2, then tiger coming in for 1 essentially means that it's almost always going to leak some damage one way or another.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, you're fatiguing your opponent, so you're pretty happy.
Yeah, you're just devaluing their block value. It's kind of insane.
Yeah. And the other nice thing about these target generators is if you wind up with two of them, maybe you play two of these, or maybe you like also transcend that turn, you can just arsenal one of these tigers, and it's like kind of nice because then you can turn it into 1 value with your staff later. It turns on your combo cards. It's just like arsenaling a tiger just feels pretty good.
Yeah, I think unlike new when we talked about how you should never arsenal your slither or your fang strike, maybe not never, but you probably shouldn't. I think that's like the opposite with Zen, where if you instead of attacking for a tiger for 0 and not getting any combo value from it, you should probably just arsenal it and attack with it later. And that's because like it's just so free to attack for it. If you're gonna attack for it for 0 anyways, it's just so free to do it later and clear your arsenal, and it doesn't really cost you anything. So yeah, it's arsenaling tigers is kind of sick.
And then I guess finally generics. Honestly, I kind of think all the red generics are like pretty playable in Zen. I don't know if there's any bad ones.
Leap.
Oh, true, evasive leap. All the red generic attacks are pretty playable.
Yes, yes. Anything with a high attack value, good. Wow, red's good in Zen.
Yeah, who would have thought? You pitch your blues and you play red cards. Crazy. Um, all right. Overrated and underrated cards. We had trouble with overrated cards. Maybe you could put Companion of the Claw in there. We mentioned it. I think the other one for me is Mask of Wizened Whiskers. I think it's good, but I don't think it's like crazy. It's crazy if you have Chase the Tail, and it's kind of crazy if you have Chi Unleash, like the red one. That is pretty good, but on its own, it's just like not really that much better than Keikoi. It's like it's fine, but it's not like, oh, I saw Wizen Whiskers, now I have to be Zen. Like it's just it's not that. Like it's nowhere near like Stiletto or Arousing Wave for New, for example.
Yeah, I feel like Mask of Wiz and Whiskers gets more important once you have like targets that you want to put back in your deck, as you said. And I'm looking for the combo cards first, and then if I have a combo card that I want to put back in my deck, then I'm like highly picking Mask of Wise and Whiskers. Like, having two Chase the Tails in a deck is just significantly better than one. So, Mask of Wise and Whiskers lets you double up on your best combo card. And, if it's just like a red pouncing key, that's just like it's a good card, but I don't know if it's like worth getting a Mask of Wiz and Whiskers. Like using a premium pick for a Mask of Wiz and Whiskers might not be right.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of times this is like essentially like the Keikoi headpiece, which is like still good. Like you still like want equipment in the set. It's still very good. But yeah, it's not like a crazy reason to draft Zen or anything.
Yeah, we're saying this is a good card, not a pack one pick one. I think that's what we want to say.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's not like don't draft it. It's just it's not a huge priority. Underrated cards. I think Blue Untamed is kind of cracked. It comes in as like a 1 for 2 go again that lets you transcend. And then when you transcend, you get the tiger, and then the tiger gets the +1 and it curves with your staff. So it's like kind of like a 1 for 3 that lets you transcend and get like the best red in your deck and turns on combo for it. Like it's just, I don't know. I think Blue Untamed is like actually just like a really good blue.
I think just Untamed in all the colors is fine. It's just almost
Yeah.
always overrate.
Yeah. Untamed good card. But I see like blue Untamed go kind of late sometimes, and I'm like, okay, I'll play a deck with like 3 blue Untamed. I'm fine with this. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, you know what? If all of your blues are just Untamed, yeah, I would love that too.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Yeah. Next one, Gravekeeping red. We kind of said all the red generic attacks are good. Gravekeeping is just a 5 power. You don't really care much about the banish text. I guess like in the mirror, you can like banish one of their combo cards so they can't recur it. But like honestly, just going staff into this for 5 is just good. Like you've done a 2 card 7. 2 card 7s are great. 2 and 5 is like even more annoying to block than if it was like just like a 1 card doing 7 damage, because they could get like 2-3 blocks on that. So yeah, Gravekeeping, just good stats. 1 for 5, just very good with a 2 cost weapon that has go again.
Yeah. One last thing I want to add on with Gravekeeping is if you're unsure about what to banish, look for a Nimblism first. That is the number one card to banish with Gravekeeping. And if you get to banish a Nimblism, most likely it breaks their Nimble Strike, and that is a big upside.
That's a really good point. I don't know if I would have thought of that. Maybe I would have on the spot, but yeah, very very good point. Banish Nimblism, very good. Another red generic, Water the Seeds red. This is like a 1 for 3 go again, so it's like worse than your class 1 cost go again starters like Untamed and Flex Claws, but it gives your next attack that has 1 or less base power +1, which applies to your tiger. So if you are able to make tigers with this, it's kind of just a 1 for 4, which is fine.
Honestly, Water the Seas is just fine in everyone.
Yeah, it's just a fine card.
Yeah, Enigma has the auras that have 1 power sometimes, and New has their daggers. Yeah, no, just Water the Seas red is just should be contested kind of highly as a generic. And I see this card late so often, and I don't really understand why. It's just like it's like a fair card.
Sometimes I just like wheel this card. I'm like, sick. This is pretty good.
Yeah, solid, solid.
Hmm.
And then the last card on our list is Blessing a Key red. Which card is this, Yuki?
This is a non-attack action that blocks for 3 and costs 1, and it says at the start of your turn, you break it and you put a tiger in your banish zone, and your next tiger is it your next tiger or that tiger gets +3.
I think it's the next tiger.
Anyways, you basically get a free head job on your next turn. This blocks 3, which I think carries a lot of the weight here. It curs with your staff, so you can still go like 2 cost into 1 cost, and it's like kind of a 2 card 5, which isn't like great, but the fact that you defer it to next turn is like pretty sick. If you play this turn 0, it's very good. I think you can set up some like really huge turns that just kill people with this card, which is pretty strong. I don't think it's like a card I'm picking highly or anything, but like I'm not unhappy playing one of these in my deck at all. It's like totally reasonable. It's just like a red block 3 that converts somewhat okay as a chain ender, and I think pushing value to your next turn is pretty strong.
Yeah, that's fair. And sorry, I was wrong. It is that tiger that gets +3. I did not know that about this card, but yeah, it's that specific tiger gets +3. So you do need to track which tiger has the +3, which one don't.
Is there any way to interact with that?
Yeah, like if you're playing multiple tigers in the same turn, then if you want to push like a 1 then a 3, or like a 0 and a 4 with your weapon, it kind of does matter a little bit.
Sure.
But it's negligible most of the time. It's like
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Blessing of Chi, not a great card, but it's playable, and I think it's better than people think. All right, let's talk about equipments. We talked about Mask of Eyes and Whiskers already. Stride of Reprisal, super good. Helps fix your turns where you need a tiger on demand. And it's just like always worth 2 because your staff gives it +1 and you block for 1. And equipment that's worth 2 is good. I don't know.
yeah, like you're talking about how like you probably want to ban this in CC. It's still good on its own. Like you don't even need Art of War for it to be good. So, and it also like triggers all your combo cards when you want it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just like, oh, I drew my Chi Unleashed and I don't have a way to make a tiger. Oh, wait, I have one on board. Cool.
That's so gross.
Yeah, card's just really good. I think that this is Zen's best class equipment, probably.
Yeah, like I think the Zen decks with the strides and the Zen decks without the strides is much. It's like makes the deck so much more consistent
Mhm.
and makes the deck so much harder to play against.
And as much as I value Aqualapse really highly, I think in Zen Aqualapse is not great because you really want to have Stride. Like you would much rather have Aqualapse than nothing, but like you have so much go again already. You kind of just want the Stride of Reprisal. So
The last card to talk about for the equipment would be Heirloom of the Tiger Hide.
this chess piece is really good. I think this is probably the best 1 life chess piece.
What does it gain again? Once you have 1 life, does it Battle
3
Sworn
armor.
3? No, not Battle Sworn.
It's just Blade Break 3.
Oh, it's Blade Break 3. Yeah, Blade Break 3.
The Koi Bless one also good, but Blade Break 3 really sick.
Yeah, it's just 3 life. It's unlike War, they can't really break it. Like you get to choose when to block with it, so it's pretty strong that way. And man, just imagining Zen with 23 life instead of 20 is so gross.
Yeah, it just kind of lets him like go low, take cards, have an extra 3 block when you try to take cards from him, and then like he does like the ninja thing where he just hits you with lots of little attacks and you can't block at all. Like you don't have Kodachis, but like it's the same idea.
Yeah, it's basically a Kodachi when you spend 2 resources and attack for 2 and then a 1 if you can make a tiger. Okay.
Okay.
Talk about the deck outline real quick and how you want to like put together the Zen deck. I think this is like pretty standard of like every. It's like all of the older sets aggro decks. This is like the same kind of outline, right?
Sort of. I think the notable thing here is because Mystic, you can and should play more blues. I think that like 12 to 16 blue range is probably good. I think a lot of times you're on the more of like the 12 blue range. The blues in this set are just really powerful. So you can go up on blues and still like have a powerful deck and just be more consistent, which is really good. Kind of like 2+ red combo cards. Upper limit probably around like 6-ish. I don't think at some point you have too many combo cards. Like you don't want a deck of like only combo cards. I don't know. Like I think in practice you don't need to worry too much about this, but just like make sure you have some transcend cards and some starters that make tigers to pair with them is the biggest thing I would say. You want lots of red attacks, pretty much as many as you can get, especially the 4 powers, but they're all pretty good. You want to make sure you have some with go again. Most of them have go again, so this isn't too much of an ask. You kind of just do it for free. Yeah. You want some tiger generators, 4+, I feel like. Transcend cards are like also kind of tiger generators. You usually want to mix. I think you can play anywhere from 0 to 4 transcend cards. If you don't really have combo, you can play none. If you have more combo cards, you can play more transcend cards. And we've talked about this with every hero. If you have path well traveled, you can play more blue counts, and then you can play like droplet and friends with it, and it's very, very good. Um, so yeah, that's still good in Zen.
Yeah, no. I just love the phrase droplet and friends. I feel like that's the term everyone should use now. Is just droplet and friends. And that means that we're talking about the droplet cycle. So all the cards it says if you've played a blue this turn, then it gets +2. So all any of those at every cost.
Yeah, I think like the 0, 1, and 3 cost are probably still the best because you have a 2 cost weapon, but like I don't know, they're all pretty good.
Yeah, the one cost one's fine. And
Yeah, that's 0, 1, and 3 are probably the best.
yeah,
Two
yeah.
costs, 2 costs. Yeah, you probably don't want to play the 2 costs, but it's like still fine. It's still fine. A blue 2 for 6 if you have enough paths. A blue 2 for 6 go again is like kind of crazy. So if you have enough path while travel, it's like this card's still good. Other than that, I think Preserve Tradition is kind of like the other Transcend card that you want to look out for in Zen. It lets you put your combo cards back to the bottom and then search them off Zen's activated ability, which is really, really sweet and is one of the ways you can recycle your combo cards in combination of Mask of Wise and Whiskers. And that's kind of why you can get away with like just 2 combo cards sometimes, is you have like Mask of Wise and Whiskers, you have 2 Preserved Traditions, and it doesn't matter that you only have 2 of them because you can just like keep putting them back.
I think more than anything, this set, I think we keep on saying it, but it's kind of contextual of like what cards you have in your deck and what cards you don't. A lot of the cards can replace each other in the set, so just make sure that you have like some kind of game plan and you have a lot of transcend cards. Make sure you have a lot of combo cards. If you're missing the combo cards, make sure there's ways to put the combo cards back in your deck so you can find them again. And just like making sure you have these like mini interactions and mini combos in your deck, it'll add a lot to your win percentage just being able to do that. And even mini combos that we didn't talk about in this episode, if you find it, you should be probably playing them, as long as they kind of feel above rate.
Yeah, it's good to kind of like take an inventory as you're drafting if you're able to, but even if you're not, like during pack review, if it's during your nationals draft or something, just take a look through and go like, which blues do I have? Which transcend cards do I have? What cards pair well with these? And then you kind of know what to look out for. So like maybe you've got some like late droplets and friends, and you got like some of those in your deck already, and you're like, path well traveled's really sick. I'm like willing to like pick one, pack one, path well traveled because it's like fantastic in my deck. Or like maybe you got some like I don't know, second tentative chi wins, the one that gets go again if you've transcended, and you're like, I don't really need path well travels. I just need like maybe like preserve tradition or like homage to ancestors because it just gives me one life. Like maybe that's just fine. So just like keep in mind what you have and what you're looking for. And I think it's basically always at blue. Like you do want to like inventory your like combo cards and your starters and your tiger makers and all of that and make sure you're balancing it. But I think most of the synergy comes from the blue cards.
Yeah, I think it does too. I think it's just like all the blue cards require other things for it to start being like pseudo reds, and turning your blues into pseudo reds are it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, it just lets you play I don't know, lets you play like a 15 blue deck that doesn't feel like a 15 blue deck. It feels like you're like it feels like you have like a whole bunch of reds, but you don't miss on pitch, which is really, really good. Yeah. So finally, let's talk about each of the matchups. From the Zen perspective, You're playing against Enigma. What's your game plan?
I think it really depends on what Enigma is trying to do, but I think overall you want to be attacking Enigma once they have some wards on board with small attacks. So basically, your staff attacking for two is great, and then attacking for one with your tiger is great. So just keep on being able to use your tiger generators and your weapon to attack for like three, two, one, and then ending off with like a one cost for five or a three cost for seven or any kind of generic or even just like a one for four at the very end is fine. If you keep on doing this, Enigma just won't be able to keep their ward up all the time and they'll have to keep playing new wards to try and pressure you. You get a lot of value from like forcing your opponent to use up their ward for less than their ward value. And Zen's really, really strong and really good at pressuring 1-1-1-1. Just like playing like four blues in a row. And honestly, sometimes against Enigma, you can just like attack for super small numbers all the time and just deck them out.
Yeah. Transcending is super sick against her. You like come in for like one or two go again, transcend, and it's like then there's gonna be the staff, then there's gonna be the tiger for one, and they're just like, okay, fine, like have my waxing specter and give up.
Yeah, and I think on Enigma side, they just can't like you attack them for like two at the very beginning, and you're just like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna block the two and hope they can keep their ward. If they just randomly can't, they just their turn kind of falls apart sometimes. It's much more stressful on the Enigma side. On your side, you just have to like keep pushing attacks until Enigma folds. And one other way you can play it is just like being very efficient and attacking for high numbers all the time. If your deck is, good enough. And Enigma has a hard time racing you, so I think as long as you can keep on attacking with Go again, that is your key to winning against Enigma.
I agree with all of that. If you somehow find yourself in a spot where you can block or present damage and they don't have ward and they're like the same value, like you had like attack for six or block for six, and they're attacking you with like a bastion and there's no ward coming up. I think that sometimes it is kind of reasonable to do a little bit of blocking, because I think one of the ways Enigma can win is like get you low enough that she can go like waxing specter, big attack, then you have to give her cards, then you can't clear the waxing specter and you fall behind. So I think that just like not letting yourself get too low too easily is important, but also just like make sure you're still pressuring. You don't want to give her infinite space to keep like a 4 card hand and just like deal no damage. So a little bit of blocking's okay, but if she has ward, just attack a lot and be annoying.
Yeah, yeah. I think if they have no ward, there's like less incentive to like throw really small attacks.
Yep.
And if your hand is like three blues and a red, if they attack you with like a non-ward attack, I would block almost every time. Just
Mhm.
and then Arsenal like the Go again red, and
Yes. Yeah. Set up so that you can break their ward. Absolutely.
I think yeah, you are right. Like not all Enigma is gonna be able to put up a ward every turn. So if they don't, then just set up to be able to break the board next turn.
Yeah. Yeah. I think going too low too fast is like a bit of it's like one of the ways you can lose this matchup. Okay. Zen. This is kind of a ninja mirror. You really want to go second. You really want to hit them as hard as you can and maximize your hand value. And if you go first and your hand does big damage, don't be afraid to attack them, because they probably have a lot of two blocks and they might even have some no blocks. That kind of applies for all the matchups, honestly. He can kind of do like Fi was really good at this, just like leaking a bunch of damage turn zero. I don't think Zen is quite as good, but he's still pretty good at it. He can often leak a couple damage.
Yeah, I would honestly just like I would almost always try in the Zen if I had to go first to try and leak damage. Because like the other Zen could draw some transcend cards on their opening turn, and if they do, they can't block.
Yeah, and I think what makes that like even more the case is if they draw the transcend cards and you don't leak damage, you're probably just like super dead, because I mean transcending lets you find the best red in your deck, so like their turn's going to be sick, right? So it's just like it kind of helps you like even out the game if they just have like a 6 start. I mean, I guess it's possible that they just like block and then draw into transcend, but yeah, usually it's worth hoping that you can get lucky, because I think going second is pretty favored in the mirror.
Yeah, I think. Do you want to talk about like the heuristics of like attacking with your last card in hand and arsenaling it?
I would kind of assume that they have like some 2 and 3 blocks in their hand and just kind of like imagine that they block along the chain and see if you would be leaking damage. So if you're able to like present a lot of small numbers so that they can't block all of them is very good. And if you're able to present like upwards of or breakpoints are good for the same reason, or if you're able to present like I don't know 12 damage or more, you can often make them leak a lot, especially if they don't have good blocks. So I'm kind of looking for like just like the total damage in my hand to be pretty high. And usually you kind of wait until you like play your first 3 cards, whether like you pitch a card, you attack with 2 of them, you swing your staff, and then you kind of get to make the judgment call of like, do I send this last attack or not? Unless you have a reason to believe that the card is a non-block, I would usually assume that as a blocking card and just be like, if I throw this, how much damage do I leak, and then how much is it worth in my arsenal? So, for example, um, if they have like 2 cards left and I have a fact-finding mission, I don't really want to throw the fact-finding mission because they can probably block 2 cards and not leak damage. If they have 1 card in hand, throwing it is like about equal because that card's like about 3 value-ish. Like most cards, most reds in your arsenal are worth about 3-ish value. So you leak 3, that's like roughly an equal trade. And if they have a 2 block, you're ahead. If they have a no block, you're like way ahead. That's kind of how I think of it. Do you have any other heuristic or?
No, I think that was great. Like I think the easiest way to think about it is like if you're leaking 3 or more damage, you should probably go for it. And if you have the action point, and if it's not leaking 3 or more damage, you would probably arsenal it if it's a red. Okay. I think the Zemir is kind of simple. You want to win the die roll.
Against new, side out your big blue attacks. Some go again blues is okay. You usually can't fully deny new value off of your blues, just the way that Zen's blues are. Like it, but certain blues do make it like if you have like a lot of like the harmony of the hunts and stuff, you do make it so that she kind of needs to banish like multiple to get a lot of value out of them. So that's like kind of the good part. But you want to avoid like the like 5 power blues like we've been talking about. Also, be aware of what you're giving her. So if she has cards that combo with tigers, you don't want to give her cards that generate tigers from your hand. So just be like mindful of like which cards she's already banished and which cards you are potentially giving her, and make sure that you try to like keep her off combos if possible. I think the way you win this matchup is being more efficient than her early. You're just like able to do above rate damage, and New is like trying to be on rate as much as possible. Do you think that's fair to say? Like, she hopes to be on rate, maybe?
Yeah, no, that's super fair to say. It's like I was I was talking with this with the testing yesterday in Classic Constructed, is I'm just like New tries so hard to be on rate all the time, and Zen just gets to be above rate all the time, and I'm just like, how's this fair? Like, what went wrong? It's just like, oh, it's just like all of Zen cards are worth 4, and all of News cards are worth like 2.5.
I
Hmm.
think they're usually worth 3 because they block for 3. But yeah, sometimes you can't even get 3 blocks because Zen attacks for 2, so it's kind of annoying.
No, but if you have to pitch into a dagger, it's worth 1, Yuki.
Well, yeah, you just don't pitch into dagger. But yeah, I think the way that Zen wins this is by just being more efficient and running her over. And I think the way that you lose this is by New building up enough good blues in your banish that she can activate her hero ability and take over the game. And I think almost regardless of what suite of blues you have, she's going to be able to do this if she gets enough of them. So it's kind of like on you to kill her. She wants to drag out the game, like continue to gain life and like build up that blue base. And you want to just like deny her that blue base and kill her before she gets there, basically. Is sort of my thoughts about the matchup. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. It makes sense. If you can, you just want to side out as many blues as possible and like replace them with yellows if you have it, and then otherwise you just want to be efficient and attacking as hard as you can.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much done. I don't really have much else to say. I feel like Zen's really good. I feel like a lot of people gravitate towards drafting him because he's pretty straightforward and like obviously powerful. Because of that, I find that I personally hardly ever draft Zen because I like to stay open. And there's usually somebody that's like, I really want to be Zen. And I'm like, okay, I'll be the sick newer Enigma deck because this deck's a lot of fun. But yeah, I think that if you have a preference for drafting Zen, that's totally reasonable and there's nothing wrong with that. He's a very good hero. All the heroes in this set are pretty good. You should definitely at least know how to draft Zen, even if you have a preference for new and Enigma like I do. Because if he is open, you should absolutely draft him. He's super, super good, and he's not that hard.
Yeah. I think take Untamed is like the easiest thing to. That's like the best advice I can give you trying to draft Zen is like, if you see a red Untamed, just pick it. You can hedge it. It's fine. You see two red Untames, it's a really good reason to be in Zen.
The other interesting thing is that I find because like the set's so blue heavy, you don't need like that many premium reds to be Zen. Like I think sometimes it's easy to be like, oh, like if you're thinking about like Fi, like you want so many good reds, and you might be like, oh, I don't have enough good reds. But just remember the blues are really good. So as long as you have like some premium reds, you're pretty happy. Like if your deck ends up with like 12 like really powerful reds and then you have like a little bit of like kind of filler and then some solid blues, like you still have a really good deck. So just if you find yourself not winding up in Zen, you might be expecting yourself to have more reds than you actually need. And I also think that if you have a start where you have a few strong generics and then you like have an untamed, like just be happy to pivot into Zen. Or like a flex clause even, or like a strong combo card. Like it's like totally reasonable to just play a bunch of generics in Zen, honestly. Ninja kind of similar in draft across formats. I wonder if we'll see. I wonder if the next time we see Ninja, if there will be like some differences, or if it will still be like kind of the same core idea.
No, next time if they base the ninja around Flick Flack, that's when the ninja decks will start to become weird.
Yeah,
Like defense reaction ninjas. You can never touch me, ninja.
you could do that in WTR. It was kind of sick. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, but like I'm just saying, like if they basically just like remove the word "go" again from all their ninja cards, and the next time they print ninja, then it'll be much different, you know?
Yeah, I guess when everything's head jabs and leg taps, it's gonna be kind of like this.
Yeah, as long as they strap on "go" again and then lower the block value on the card, like this is the only way you can play these ninja decks.
Yeah, it's so true. All right. Well, good luck to everybody at your nationals. I hope that that goes well for you. Hopefully, this episode helped you prepare and get ready. I'm going to be trying and doing some draft content in the next day or two and hopefully get that up on the Patreon as well. I was just thinking of going through a draft, talking through the picks, maybe talking about some of the things I'm thinking about and the gameplay as well, of course, and putting that up for our patrons. So, probably by the time this episode is up, it should be there or shortly after. So keep an eye out for that. And that's going to wrap us up for this week. If you want to get in touch with us, you can on social media. Jay is at UetaJ, and I'm at UkiliBender on Twitter. You can also email us directly at onthebobble@gmail.com. If you want to check out our Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/onthebobble. Thanks so much for listening, and best of luck to you at your upcoming events.
You know what? I do have a sign off.
Okay.
I'm just looking at Twitter right now, and I just realized that Jimmy Nguyen tweeted about our Discord messages of how I misspelt things on our last episode, and basically I'm really bad at spelling, and the Jimmy posts on a Discord that we're all part of, and he just ats me and says, "Did you forget how to spell part the Misville and Patreon at the same time, or just trolling?" And then Yuki posts and says, "Oh, I think this is a genuine mistake by me." And Jimmy's like, no way that it's not like it's a genuine mistake, and it has to be like an intentional troll." And I see this message, and I'm just like, "I'm sorry, Jimmy. I'm just bad at spelling, and I still haven't fixed the episode. And at this point, I'm not gonna fix the episode now. It's gonna be on the internet forever now, and this story is gonna exist on the internet forever.
Yeah, Patteron.com.
uh,
Oh, it's so funny. My favorite part about this post is that Jimmy was like collecting evidence to support you because he really believed in you. He was like collecting screenshots of like, look at all of these episodes spelled perfectly. And I'm just like, yeah, but Jay probably just had like spell check on for those. And then you like type a link in, it doesn't autocorrect it, like, I don't know. Mistfail as like Vale is like I don't know, like spell check's not going to get you on that. So it's like totally within Jay's range. And then Jimmy's just like, I don't know. He's like, oh, you're like so hard on Jay. I'm like, no, like I'm like 99% sure that this is the case. Like, I just know.
yeah, you know me better. It's just
It wasn't a like I think or I'm being mean and dunking on you. I'm just like I'm just so sure at this point.
yeah, it's spelling is tough. Spelling is tough. Like even when I'm doing deck reg, like I'm kind of reliant on the set number instead of like alphabetical. And man, the past recent sets, like the deck reg sheet is alphabetical, but the set code isn't, and I'm having so much trouble just like filling out the deck reg sheets for like limited. It's gross. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say today.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Hey, good night, everyone.